So, first story of the night. I figured we'd start off with, in my opinion, what is the hardest story here, but is equally important for us to share and talk about. So, have you heard about the case coming out of Southern California with Domingo Flores and Myra, where did I put her last name? Chavez?
No.
No? Oh my gosh. All right. So this is how it goes. And anytime we can talk about bring awareness to child endangerment, child crimes, child abuse, child anything where you have an innocent child that is not being treated very good. I think it's one of the most important things to me. You know what I mean? And this is a good one to use as an example so people understand, like, it's better to call somebody and be wrong in a situation than not call and find out that is what's going on. You know what I mean? Yeah, so this man, Domingo Flores, comes running into an Orange County child's hospital, all right, with what he says is his daughter in his arms asking for help. They get back to the doctors and nurses, and the doctors and nurses believe that they're looking at a 5 or 6 year old child, which they very soon come to find out that she is double that age. And she is that malnourished. So she is 50 pounds. And most of these nurses and doctors can't even keep it together at what they're seeing. Okay, so she had bruises all over her whole body. She had a broken neck. She had an injury where the bone was protruding out of the skin, gashes all over the place on her, and dealing with heart failure. The dad said that she fell down the stairs, okay? Which, why is that like the go-to for abuse? When somebody's abusing somebody in a relationship or a child like this, like the go-to I feel like is always they fell down the stairs, which is so ridiculous.
Stairs are known to cause really horrible injuries, so I'm assuming that's why, because it's something that can so easily happen, and it can cause severe injuries and can result in death. And the statistics for it are kind of insane when you look it up. But it is ridiculous.
I get it.
That's
but
always
that would be a huge red flag to me. And massive red flag.
They can see the differences in injuries too. Like, you're not just going to go in there when somebody's battered and say, for sure, it was the stairs.
Yeah, they're
going to see specific things. They're going to be like, okay, this was not a stair fall.
Linear bruising from the stair edges and things like that. Absolutely. They'll be able to tell. Well, most of these doctors and nurses that were involved in this said this was literally the worst case that they have ever seen. And this is in a major metro area, a huge metro area in Orange County. And Orange County's population is massive, being right next to Los Angeles. And it's been one of the quickest growing cities ever. So just why that's important is the amount of people that go in and out of there. And for them to say this is the worst case they've seen, I think is a huge indicator of how bad this actually was and how unfortunate when you're looking at a child. And so the investigation begins, right? Those doctors and nurses call the police. Now, those police start investigating. They gain access to the house, and they find another, what most people call House of Horrors. They find zip ties that have been used to zip tie her to the bed. Not only that, but they use those same zip ties to zip tie her to a TV stand, like in the living area. They have 3 other kids there, and those 3 kids were coerced and forced into being part of the abuse.
Were they as
No.
Okay.
She took
So
the
they were
brunt of
fed.
it. They were fed. Yep, they were fed. Now, both of them caught charges for abuse on those other children too, but not like they did for this child.
Okay, so did she pass?
She did not pass. No, she did not pass. She is alive and well, which is great because, I mean, her life was literally a threat at this point. Heart failure from not being fed, okay? That is awful. Now, They found evidence of her being zip-tied to the TV stand, being forced to sleep there without a pillow or a blanket or anything like that. And they get in contact with an uncle, and the uncle apparently shares all of this information, which I have a lot of questions here with the uncle, okay?
Yeah.
Because, one, apparently the uncle had called, or they didn't specifically say the uncle. I'm assuming it's the uncle here, but some family member called CPS a while ago, and she was able to put on an act. And maybe it didn't get this bad yet, but nothing happened. They ended up leaving her there. The cops came, they searched the area, and she put on a great act, this stepmom did, and because this is her stepmom, if I didn't say that. And the police left her there, okay? Now, between talking to the uncle, talking to the other children, some of the things that she was put through is she was expected to kneel on cans, like sharp cans and rice with weights above her head. She was zip tied to furniture, like I said, and expected to sleep cold. She was fed away from the family. The only thing she was allowed to eat was oatmeal, if she was allowed to eat at all, and she was forced to eat in a corner by herself like a dog, like literally treated like a dog. This trigger warning, you guys, this part is absolutely horrible, but on multiple occasions they had got, gosh, it's so messed up. They had got a pepper, like a spicy habanero type pepper, really hot pepper, and forced her to eat that. They then took that and rubbed it in her eyes, and then inserted it into her privates. Yeah, that kind of horror, torture, abuse, and just disgusting human being here treating this child. So, it makes sense why it is the worst case that these doctors and nurses have ever seen, and it is absolutely disgusting. And I immediately started asking questions like, okay, well, how did this go on for so long with 3 other kids? Now, those 3 other kids, I understand being terrified of these 2 parental figures, but I wish they would have spoke up. And then you have the uncle who claims that, family member called in and nothing happened. So the uncle lets them in on some of this information. Ultimately, when she was brought in, though, they ended up having to give her 17 surgeries immediately going under the knife to, try and repair some of these damages that have been done to her. She was unable to walk for 9 months because of this. She was immediately given to her mother, her birth mother, which, great. So the stepmother here said in multiple comments that the reason why she was doing this is because she felt so much hate and like disdain towards this child because of a horrible custody battle going on. Right, that's what I said too when I heard it. I was like, okay, and what? There isn't any reason to do anything like this. There's no reason ever,
A horrible
period.
custody battle? You could have just gave her up.
Agreed. There
didn't need to be a custody battle.
Agreed. And when I read that, that's exactly what I thought. Was like, okay, we'll just give her up. But you wanted to be selfish and get the child support payment. Guaranteed that's what was going on here. But again, I go back to what you were doing was going to kill this child.
No child support.
No child support. What? It is a disgusting, horrible, gross situation.
You're just an abuser, is what it is. You're just an abuser.
Absolutely.
You're a piece of crap. That's it.
Absolutely. And I am so happy that all of the kids got away from this. It makes me really worried, though, for those 3 other kids that were forced and coerced into taking part in this, you know, that kind of trauma, and then seeing that kind of unhealthy, disgusting release at another individual makes me
concerned they could go on to do this themselves.
Exactly. Yep. Concerned they could go on to do this themselves.
They need intense mental health counseling, and they need to be watched.
I agree with you 100%.
For any signs of them going on to become a perpetrator.
Yeah. No, I agree. Now, both the father and the stepmother were charged and convicted. So on October 11th, Mayra Carino Chavez was convicted of 1 count of torture, 2 counts of child abuse, all felonies, and a misdemeanor count of simple assault. It says jurors who began deliberating at 9 a.m. Friday reached a verdict by 3:30 p.m. that same day. When she was brought back into court, she made a statement, her attorney made a statement for her, saying that apparently she was abused when she was younger. And I mean, that's a given. Come on, you know, trauma creates trauma, hurt people, and something happened to you, I think, unless you're just a straight up sociopath. So she was just sentenced. Why this case is important now is she was just sentenced on Friday, and I don't agree with this sentence myself, but she got 15 years. Yeah, with a case this bad, me personally, I don't think you should have been out. I think that she should have got attempted murder.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah, at this point, like when you're doing something, they're too lenient on child abuse and SA. It's too lenient.
Yeah.
Because these are the type of people I cannot trust in society. That had they have went just a little bit further, they could have had a murder on their hands.
It was, dude, it was right there. The father brought her in, and she was literally hanging onto life by a thread. Couldn't walk, 17 surgeries, heart failure because of the abuse that she was enduring.
It's a miracle she's alive.
It is a miracle. And that's why when I look at this, I think like, dude, how are they not getting her on a sexual assault charge because of the pepper? Like, that is, you know?
Yeah, there should have been more charges.
And that could have been 15 years alone. I think. I don't remember California law, but I think it is 15 years in California for a sexual assault of that nature. I'm just shocked. I'm disappointed at seeing this because I knew about this case because so Annie Elise covered this. I'm not sure when. I think I saw it like a week ago or something like that. And I was blown away. And my first thought is I need to see how much time she got, you know. And come to find out, she gets 15 years, which is really disappointing in my opinion. This is a person that when you make a mistake like this and you almost kill another individual and specifically a child,
from gross abuse.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a demented way to kill somebody. Like, to abuse them to the point that their body is failing. That their neck is broken.
What is this person going to do when they get put in situations where they don't get what they want in life? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is a terrifying individual, both of them. Now, she is taking the brunt of it, this Myra, and she went to court first, but Domingo also has the same types of charges. So he just hasn't been tried yet because they're being tried separately. But there's no way this was going on with this amount of damage and
the father didn't know.
And the father didn't. There's
he was a part
no
of it.
way, dude. He was a part of it, and I expect just as much or more sentenced time for accountability around this. He also got torture, child abuse, child endangerment, literally the same thing. So, I don't know. What's going on, California?
I'm shocked attempted murder wasn't on there.
I agree.
How is that
because
even
this
possible?
wasn't a plea.
Or even manslaughter or something. You know what I mean? Like, just second-degree murder of some type. Like, you know, one is premeditated. And I've seen a lot of people argue this. Premeditated means you could literally... It's intentional. It doesn't have to mean you spent a day or a week or a year planning it. It could be premeditated in 60 seconds.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it, but I know about that argument.
Well, it just means it's intentional, that I am doing this thing to kill somebody,
I got you.
Knowing that it will.
Yeah. I don't know if I agree, but I understand.
Murder 2 is more of an accident. I'm doing this thing uncaring, unknowing maybe, that, and there's degrees, but that it could kill somebody, or committing a crime that could result in death.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So I feel like this falls under murder 2.
I mean,
unless they
attempted.
Can prove, murder 2, unless they could prove that some assault on her happened to break her neck. Then I think it could be murder 1. I don't see how neither one of them were given either one of those.
Yeah.
I do not see how that's possible.
I don't either, and that's why I wanted to bring it up, because Annie did a great job covering that. I think it was her and her sister, and Annie, you know, she has a team behind her. She's always doing great work, so shout out to her. But you know, I lived in Orange County for a while. So this kind of stuff is super important to me and should not be allowed anywhere on this earth. And when a situation like this happens, we have to hold people accountable in a very harsh way. This should not be okay in any way, shape, or form. And I think anybody that even has a potential thought of doing something like this should be terrified at the accountability that can come with the law. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're a type of person that has a lack of emotions in this way, where you can do this type of thing to any child, your child, somebody else's child, a random child, even a child you don't like, you have a problem. So something else needs to keep you away from acting in this type of way. And this just isn't okay. Now, I also have questions, too, around the uncle, okay? And is he the only family member that tried calling, or is there another one? Because in my opinion, in my world, in my head, if I knew there was anything resembling this going on, I would literally kidnap that kid and drive straight to the police department. And be like, check it out. I need you guys to listen to me. I just grabbed this kid. This is a family member of mine. As you can see, look at all of the wounds on them and what's going on. I need help. I've called before. You guys went over there and didn't handle this situation, so I handled it this way. Now you can visibly see what is going on here, and you need to fix this.
Say the uncle showed up to intervene, okay? He grabs the kid, he cuts the zip ties, and he's like, I'm taking them to the hospital now.
Yeah.
What are they going to do? Call the police? Okay, now the police are going to be there and see what's going on.
Absolutely.
So regardless, I mean, if you make a huge stink about it, police are going to end up there no matter what, and hopefully this is going to be found out. I mean, it has to be found out.
Yeah.
You know, especially if a family member is that upset to where they're willing to take this child and be like, I'm taking them to the hospital now, no matter what you guys say as the guardians and parents of this child. That's something to look at. Like, you know what I mean? So, so I have questions around the uncle too. Were you turning a blind eye? Did you actually call CPS and then allow them? Like, I don't know. If I see this happening, I'm not just calling CPS and like gonna see what happens.
No way.
And I don't care about those adult family members anymore who are doing this to this child.
You've lost all respect.
Yeah, I've lost respect for you. I don't care if you trust me. I don't care if you want anything to do with me. Like, what you're doing is wrong.
Yeah, it's disgusting. I feel the same.
Are they
Hispanic?
They sound like a Hispanic family.
Well, yeah, I think, I think Chavez and
there's always a lot of fear when people are not citizens of the United States.
I
bringing awareness to things like this if family members are not citizens. So, say the uncle is not a citizen, that could be part of some of the fear.
Listen, there's other things too, though. Let's just say you're not a citizen, uncle. I would have called CPS anonymously every day until it was done. Okay?
And I would be calling the police too.
Find a payphone. I understand there might be one in the entire world anymore, but find a way to make a call that's not connected to a phone connected to you. Borrow friends' phones every day, whatever. But call every day anonymously and say, this is going on. Get out there and stop letting them manipulate you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or take pictures.
Zero. There is nothing anybody could do that would make me look at any situation like this any other way or be any more lenient. You know, a child is a dependent that depends on adults around them to function and live and get through life. So
they can't do anything to protect themselves. They literally can't do anything.
Agreed. So when you have your protectors around you that are failing to do that job, they don't deserve to have a child around them. That child needs to be taken to somebody who actually will care and provide for them.
Yeah.
The state would be better than this horrible, disgusting situation. And one of the kids did talk directly to Myra and said it wasn't the daughter that got it the worst, but she said she will forever regret being forced to do what she did to her, and I can never comprehend what you did to me, while the other said to be able to have, finally we'll be able to have peace and stop thinking of you. So that shows some fear there, and this child at least felt confident enough to make a statement like that in court, you know. And these kids' ages were 17, 13, and I think another 10-year-old.
At 17?
Yeah, I don't know. I hope that
I was rebellious enough at 17, I would have said something, but...
For sure, but we don't know how this family is.
I haven't been in that situation before, so...
Right, me neither. I hope the court requires these other kids to see a therapist, you know? This would, again, it makes me really nervous, because they're now, like, looking at other factors. They probably saw this situation and thought, like, zero faith in law enforcement, zero faith in the world and the justice system in the U.S. to see something like this, and their parents are getting away with it for so long. This had apparently been going on for years. So, some interesting facts here before we close it out. I, of course, want to know how you feel about this situation. What do you feel like could be done to hold these people accountable in a more harsh way to prevent these things from happening? You know, the ultimate goal here is, what decisions can we make in our justice system, in our society, that's going to prevent and reduce things like this from happening? And I want to know what you guys think. But so approximately 5 children die every every day because of child abuse. 1 out of 3 girls and 1 out of 5 boys will be sexually abused before they reach the age of 18. And as I said earlier in this podcast, I don't know if I did for this story, but I was one of those kids that was, sexually abused by a female family member that's way older than me, way older than me. And I had to deal with some of that trauma and overcome that myself. But yeah, so 90% of child sexual abuse victims know the perpetrator in some way. 68 are physically abused by family members, and more than 600,000 children are abused in the U.S. each year. When I read that, one, super sad, horrible. 2, what can we do to reduce these numbers and not let these numbers increase? And 3, if people see something, we need to say something, even if it's a maybe. If you see something kind of strange, right, and, you see an adult grab a kid or something that seems way too hard and they're in public, just imagine what could be happening behind closed doors in private. These are the types of situations that I hope we get better and more comfortable talking about and reaching out to people. Like in this situation, if other family members thought there was stuff going on, man, there should have been a bigger fight. There should have been a bigger fight. This girl was having heart failure. Disgusting. Absolutely despicable. Horrible, disgusting people right here.
Yeah, it's super, super sad. I'm glad she has another shot at life, though. And hopefully she'll get the love she deserves, the care she deserves, so she can go on to have a fulfilling life. I
hope so.
She'll probably have some life-lasting
trauma.
Not just trauma mentally, but physically. When you have been starved to the point of heart failure, that can cause major issues internally for the rest of your life. Now, hopefully her body was resilient enough as a child to really bounce back, a lot, and she won't have to deal with heart problems for the rest of her life, and stomach and GI tract problems. I guarantee there will be some. There will be some.
We just hope the best for her,
man. I really do. I hope the best for her and her siblings, that they get the help that they need, and that they have just great lives from, you know what I mean? I do. Everybody has their trauma. I hope this has to be their only trauma.
Yeah, I hope they can overcome it in a healthy way, leave it in the past, and become productive citizens and adults as they grow.
Successful,
absolutely.
Happy.
This is just a horrible story that, again, these horrible stories have to be told. They have to be shared so that people like you right there listening to this hear this and are like, I remember this situation that happened. Maybe I should have called somebody.